Let's get right into it. Let's discuss it. Baby Reindeer. It is a British movie airing on Netflix, and it is a true story based on Richard Gadd's life experiences with a female stalker. Now, many of you may already know about this movie, but I didn't until I was asked questions on social media about it. And I don't normally watch Netflix, but I found the series available on down on you could watch it on YouTube, or not YouTube, sorry, you could watch it without being a subscriber to Netflix. So that's what I did. I googled it, found my way around the Netflix barricade, and I was able to watch some of the episodes for free. And watching the first episode of Baby Reindeer made me want to do this video for you guys today. I thought that this man, Richard Gadd, was peering into my life. Now, in this movie, the female stalker strikes up a conversation with Gadd in a bar where he works. And it's all downhill from there. Richard becomes the target of abuse at the hands of a female, and I'm going to say allegedly, who is a psychopath, who clearly expresses alleged narcissistic tendencies. Now, if it wasn't him, it would have been somebody else, and it turns out it was somebody else. Richard in this movie finds out who his admirer truly is as he Googles her name and gets an eye full. Her previous target put a restraining order out on her, and her target was not just a woman, but a husband and wife couple, as this stalker threatened their young child. Now, Gadd received unwanted attention from his stalker for 4 years, and he did tell her no, but he also enabled her. And you will ask yourself why. Many people who haven't been abused or haven't endured stalking, you're going to ask, you're going to maybe even yell at the TV, why the hell did you entertain this woman? Why did you go back? Why did you say yes when you knew you wanted to say no? Well, there is a hidden reason why. And it's not even understood by those of us who are targeted by narcissistic abuse or targeted by stalking. Okay, I'm just trying to look up and I don't have it on this phone. I wanted to share with you an excellent book. I have it for on ebook on Kindle. And it's called In the Grip of Fear, and it showcases from a retired detective's perspective of all the cases that he has gone through, the cases that he's been involved with in the past, of people who have been not just targeted, but victims of stalkers, and who have been hurt and who have died by stalking. So if you have a chance, please check it out. It's called In the Grip of Fear. If you want to know if you can't find it, just message me, send me a comment in the comment section down below, and I will send it to you, or I'll try and find it and pin it in the comments. I'm sorry about my demeanor right now. I have to apologize because I am a little distracted because I'm still processing my feelings with this movie. It's a 7 episode movie, and I caution you to be very careful because the 4th episode is where there is sexual abuse, and it's triggering to male and female, homosexual and heterosexual. So Richard Gadd, he made this movie in attempts to tell his story, but also to help him heal. Now, he tried to downplay the stalker in this movie, and he keeps saying that, oh, he felt sorry for her, and he felt that he could handle it. How many times do we say we can handle it? I know I have. It was 6 years ago that I encountered an internet stalker, and I myself had to go to the police here in Canada, and the police didn't do anything. They couldn't, because this person was in the United States, didn't have a place of residence. He was a homeless person. And yeah, I Googled his name and I found an eyeful, just like in the movie. Richard Gadd, he Googled the woman he was talking to, and he got an eyeful. And it scared the shit out of him. But even with his newfound evidence against her that told him to stay away from her, he went back. And I did too. We give the excuse, oh, they don't have anybody. And I did. I convinced myself I felt sorry for him. But that's not the case. We gaslight ourselves. And I'm not picking on anybody. There's no shame here. Okay? There's no shame here. I'm speaking from experience, and it doesn't matter who anyone is. Like, if you have a stalker, if you're enduring narcissistic abuse, you're going to find yourself going back to your abuser many times over. That's just the way it is. And I found myself watching this movie trying to ask myself why. Why is his story so familiar? And I wanted so desperately to forget all the times that I was abused by men. I wanted to just, it's in the past, it's in the past. But this movie held my attention. And Richard Gadd, he received 41,000 emails. He received 350 hours of voicemail, 744 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, and 106 pages of letters. And some of those letters were handwritten. This was over a course of 4 years. For me, I endured the online stalking for 6 months, and it was horrific. Even though this person was in the United States, deep into the Bible Belt of the United States, he was making his way up, hitchhiking, to the Canadian border. And he told me that he managed to stay on a native reserve along the border on the United States side, and they were willing to drive him over to see me. And so I went to the police, and the police said, well, chances are he's not going to come over. He needs a passport. He doesn't even have that. And I'm just like, I've got all these emails, and I have him threatening to RAPE me and my child that is with me. He's threatening to abduct me. He's threatening to basically hold me as his sex slave. And I had graphic emails. The police didn't even look at them. On this show, Baby Reindeer, the police took a look at the emails. And I told the police officer I received an unsolicited sexual message of him doing stuff to his body, if you know what I mean. And they didn't do anything. The police officer said he took my name. He, looked up his name. I told the police officer this person's name, first and last name. And he said, yes, he is a person of caution, but we can't do anything. Well, this person, he found a girlfriend in the United States, and so I thought I was left alone. I thought I was okay until his girlfriend contacted me and asked me if I was in danger, and I told her everything that I knew. And I told her that I told her that I went to the police and that she should be careful. Well, then a few days later, I get a message that was extremely hateful and graphic. He wanted to unalive me, and he hated me because I told his girlfriend about him. And so she stayed with him, and he became a person of interest in the public eye. And he ended up holding somebody hostage by gunpoint and threatening police officers, and now he's in jail. He's been in jail for about 3 years now, I think. But it was really scary for me because I met him on Facebook. We were close. We were getting close. We were, friends. We became friends, and we were getting close. And we had Christianity in common. And he started befriending my friends on Facebook and telling them nasty things about me, the triangulation and all of this. And it got to the point where I took myself off of the internet for a couple of years. I shut everything down. Like I maintained, like I kept my Facebook page, but I how you can delete it or you can deactivate it. I deactivated it. And I was scared. And nobody should have to live in fear. And even though I went to the police, I still talked to him afterwards because even though I felt threatened, I still talked to him because I felt like how Richard Gadd said, I felt sorry for her. Well, I felt sorry for him. I convinced myself I felt sorry. But in watching this movie, I think we put ourselves in dangerous situations for a reason, and I'm going to get to that in just a little bit. Richard Gadd, he said, he cried out, and I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but he's talking about his pain in front of the public, And what he says is quite telling. He chastises himself in front of an audience and he says, I have been naive. And that's I'm getting chills. That's exactly what it is. We are naive, and it's not because we are dumb and dull. I don't want you to ever think that you're stupid and dumb for getting yourself into this situation or any troublesome situation. We are naive, and we are naive for a reason, because number one, you don't think it will happen to you. And just because you've met one predator doesn't mean that you know all predators, but your trauma thinks that, oh, it's not the same, it's fine, it's different, that was then, I was younger then, I know better now, I can handle it, it's fine. You give yourself every freaking excuse to avoid why you allow it to continue. And you do, you allow it to continue. If you go back to the narcissist, and I'm going to tell you, you will go back to the narcissist 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 times, maybe even more, until you finally understand that they're not going to change. It's not going to get better. Now, watching the first episode online, again, had me revisit my own encounters with this online stalker and someone who I was dating before I even got married, before I was even a Christian, and something happened that threw me for a loop. And I found myself gripped watching this movie because I just like some of this stuff this guy is going through, I've went through. And I did exactly what Richard did, befriended the person against my better judgment. And it wasn't just the stalker that I befriended. I maintained a relationship with the man who abused me, abused the trust that I gave him. In fact, I maintained a relationship with all the men that eventually turned out to abuse me in relationships. And I've maintained contact because I don't want to be the bitch. I don't want them to think that, oh, I'm such a terrible, nasty person, and how can I ignore them? I don't want to be labeled as that. I'm a kind, nice person, and you know, gosh, they need somebody. What if I'm the only? If I had recorded some of the excuses that I've verbalized in order to maintain a toxic relationship with these narcissistic individuals, had I been young enough to endure my parents' chastisement, I would have been grounded. I would have had my phone privileges taken away. My parents would have intervened if I had loving parents, but that's another story. Naivety means that you haven't yet grown up. That's it. You may be an adult and you may be adult in most things, but when it comes to dealing with people and interrelationship skills, we're naive. Why is that? Because we haven't been taught who to trust and who not to trust. Because many times our parents were people that we trusted, but they were not to be trusted, or their friends were not to be trusted. Sacrificing our feelings in the name of the greater good is what we who are of targets of abuse do. We convince ourselves that we're doing the right thing. Well, we don't know what the right thing is, people, because no one taught us, because no one did right by us. Richard was abused. Before this woman came along in the bar one day, and how the scene happens is she walks into the bar, she sits down at the on the bar stool, and he's the bartender, and she's crying. He walks over to her and he starts chatting her up, and she orders tea. Or he says, "Can I get you a tea?" And she says, "I have no money." And he goes, "Well, that's on me." That immediately perks her up. She stops crying, she starts chatting, and it's downhill from there. Now, before this woman, a few years before this woman enters his bar, Richard Gadd is abused by someone that he trusted, a mentor. And this is exposed in episode 4, and it is graphic, it's triggering, and I watched the first assault. I skimmed through it, and I just kind of got a general idea of what was going on, and I just was shocked because this mirrored something that happened to me when I wasn't Christian. Like I said, I was naive, and I trusted somebody with my body, and they ended up violating me in a way that I did not expect. I didn't ask for it. They just did something, and it freaking had me twisted sideways for months, years, and then I just put it out of my mind. And then today, as I was reflecting this scenario, I was reminded of a time in my marriage where I said no, and he got upset. If someone loves you, they will not get upset. They will respect your boundaries. Now, I'm warning you, it's a hard episode to watch, but I just skimmed through it because it's like, damn it, there's freaking roadblocks, and I'm so tired of dealing with the trauma as you are. And I finally got it today. I finally got it that I gaslit myself. I ignored this problem because I was a grown-ass adult and this happened to me. And yes, I said no. But the reason for me, I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but maybe if I can get you just to maybe consider this as this is my conclusion for myself, that the reason why I kept going back to narcissists, and narcissists love to abuse your body. Narcissists they don't like the word no, and they will try to get you to go over your moral compass, your boundary. What? It's no big deal. Everybody does it. It feels good. Why not? Ugh, makes you just want to vomit. But I figured out the reason why I personally kept going back to the narcissist. And I convinced myself, well, if I just love them enough, maybe they'll change their ways and they'll see the light that, oh, I am a good person. I am worthy of love. I used these people to help me to get rid and get, and possibly forgive my shame. Because the first sexual abuse was when I was a little child, when I was 5, and I had no say. But yet, I knew this man was making me comfortable and doing dirty things to me. And yet, and this is what I tried to forget. But this video, this movie, thank you, Richard Gadd, made me see something that I just neglected to see. When my mom was drunk and passed out and I couldn't wake her up and I was in the house all alone at night, there could have been an intruder and she wouldn't have woken up. So guess who I would call? I would pick up the rotary phone and dial his number and ask him, Mommy's sleeping. Can you come be with me? Because I was scared. He was my only safety net. Somebody who brought me terror. The devil. And I found comfort in the company of the devil. And that I remember having memories of, not even asking myself, why? Why did you call him? Why did you go back? You remember things. You remember he did things. And I just shoved it out of my mind. I didn't even allow myself to even entertain that. No, just ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. And now that I'm a grown-ass adult and I kept going back to the man who would be my narcissistic husband for almost 20 years, I kept going back and back to him. We broke up over a handful of times within 6 months. It was a freaking toxic. But I was toxic myself because I was so needy. I was so codependent. I was so traumatized. I was, scratch that, codependence. That's what psychologists want us to believe. But I had attachment deficits. I was so attached unhealthily to this person that I couldn't see the harm that he was doing, but I would go back to him. I would go back and I would take him back. I would leave and he would come back and I would take him back because he said, I'm sorry. And then he would expect sex and I would give him sex because I thought sex equaled love and I thought he loved me. And so what I'm sharing with you is something that we all feel. We're vulnerable. And this video, this movie, exposes us to just how vulnerable we have become because we are naturally vulnerable in our naivete, however you want to say it. So the reason why we allow the abuse to happen, and I'm speaking for myself here and maybe this will resonate, it's not that we allow it to happen. It happens as our abusers continue to abuse us, because it's not just a trauma bond. It's not, it's a trauma response. We don't want to think that we're dealing with Stockholm Syndrome. We don't want to think that we are attached to our abusers in some way, that we empathize and sympathize with them. But the reason why it keeps continuing is because we are still that little child, that inner child that was hurt the first time, that hasn't been healed. That inner child has not been nurtured. And because of that, we leave ourselves susceptible and vulnerable to the machinations of other people who are like the abuser that we've known. Michael, you can leave if you don't care. Why are you watching? I don't know what you asked, because some of your comments have been redacted by the YouTube algorithm. So, you know what? If you don't like what I'm having to say, then this video isn't for you. Sorry. This video who sends 41,000 emails to someone? Unbelievable. That's just unfathomable. But I understand in my own stalking situation, I would wake up and there would be emails left for me. It was not just my email, my personal inbox. It was Facebook. It was Twitter. And he was befriending people that I knew on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And these friends that I had known for years, that I had counseled, would come to me and say, da 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 da, this, he said this, he's saying this, he's saying this. Of course I don't believe him. I stood up for you, Shannon, but he's doing this, he's doing that. He would make videos on YouTube that he would share with his own public followers. And he would talk about me in these videos. And I asked him, I said, can you stop doing that? Because you're invading my privacy. I never asked for this. But he would set up little shrines. It was sick and twisted. And in this movie, Baby Reindeer, you can clearly see that this woman stalker has some sort of emotional, mental baggage, and she needs help. And things that shouldn't have been said by Richard were said to her. I mean, she took things where something was a joke, she took it literal. And you know, when you're dealing with a narcissist, they latch on to specific words and they hang on to those words that you say and dismiss everything else. And that's why it's so hard for you to have a reasonable conversation with them. Now, the excuse that you will hear repeatedly in this movie is that he felt sorry for her. He felt bad. That's just another gaslight. That's a self-manipulative tactic that we tell ourselves just to avoid the truth. What is the truth? That we are unable to say no to the initial person who traumatized us. We were unable to say no because we were caught off guard. We were caught vulnerable because we were naive. We wanted to believe the best, that this couldn't happen to us a second time, a third time, a fourth time. And now when we befriend the stalker, we befriend the narcissist, we take them back, we are trying desperately to regain control and stay in control. Because at least if the abuse is happening, at least we get to manage how much abuse we're able to take. Because, and we're not consciously thinking about this because we have gaslit ourselves and led ourselves to believe that, oh, they have nobody. Oh, poor thing. If I don't want to be the one to send them in depression. If I leave and just leave cold turkey and just go no contact, then they possibly might unalive themselves and they possibly might sink into a deep depression. And oh my gosh, I just don't want to hurt their feelings like that. I don't want them to feel like how I know what they potentially could feel. So I don't want them to go through that. So I'll just stay in this relationship a little while longer because we may not tell ourselves that they need us, but we tell ourselves that they need somebody. We can't say no. Because in our vulnerability, when the trauma initially happened, we were unable to say no because for me, I was young. I couldn't say no. I couldn't say no. I was too young to say no. I mean, how is a 5-year-old going to say no to a grown-up? And without that inner child, without her pains addressed, I allowed other men, in my adult years, I allowed other men to abuse me and take advantage of my body in ways that I said no. I said no. And it didn't matter. Didn't matter. Narcissists, toxic people don't care. They will take what they want and they will ask for forgiveness later, or they won't ask. There's a saying, something along the lines of better do it now and ask for forgiveness later. Well, narcissists don't ask for forgiveness. They just expect you to, because they're delusional. We're not, okay, I'm going to retract that. I'm going to say, and I'm going to put myself on the line here because I don't want to speak for anybody. But I was delusional. I was delusional about my own pain and myself, which allowed me to walk in delusion about the person I was interacting with. Part of your healing is to say no. You got to say no to yourself. You got to say no to other people. It's about healthy boundaries. It's about being assertive. And it's about staying loyal to that no. Because that no helps you find out who you are. And when you understand who you are and understand your strengths, then you stay loyal to you and you stay loyal to that. You stay loyal to your knowledge, your insight, your wisdom, your discernment. And that's what you gain through healing. And this movie, Baby Reindeer, was a source of healing for Richard Gadd, because at the end of the movie, he decided to just throw up his hands in the air. He went to the police. He tried to just not make waves. He tried to just let things go, and it escalated where this female stalker became violent with him. And apparently, according to this movie, if this movie is entirely true, this wasn't the first time this woman was violent. She was verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, and physically abusive. And she abused him sexually in this movie. And he said no. Now, this story is really weird. I mean, it's convoluted because now the internet sleuths have allegedly found the real female stalker. But before I get into that, I just want to say that, I admire Richard Gadd's strength. I admire his tenacity. I admire his willingness to just go public. And he didn't do this for any other reason than to set himself free, because I don't know if he realized this or not, but I realized this for myself and for him, that as victims, and I know that has become a dirty word, but it's not a shameful word at all. It is what it is. We hide within ourselves, and we hide who we truly are. And when we decide to tell our story, I've tried to tell my story many times to people. I've told it to my family. My foster mother told me to just pretend the sexual abuse didn't happen when I was 5 years old and just push it under the rug and forget about it. Well, I was doing that all my teenager years, and it wasn't doing me any favors. The counselor that I saw when I was 16, because I was starting to freaking act out and do things and steal and lie and do things to get attention in order as a cry out that I need help, something's wrong, somebody pay attention to me, somebody love me properly. And my foster mother just put me in counseling, and I told the counselor, well, these are the memories that I have. The counselor says, well, chances are you were molested, my dear, and maybe now it's time that you tell your foster mother. Here I was thinking this was going to bridge the gap, and this was going to help her understand why I was acting out in this family for so long, and maybe we would, I honestly did think that this would bridge the relationship and maybe help us see eye to eye and come together and maybe start building on something with forgiveness for each other. No. A year later, I ran away. I was 16 when I told her, and she said, push it under the rug, pretend it didn't happen. And so I understand with Richard why he went public. He was on stage. He was in the finals of a competition for a comedy act. And he threw his act and he just said, you know what? Here I am. And he realized he was hiding. Maybe he thought he was hiding from the world, and I'm going to say, we as victims, we hide from ourselves. That's the problem. We go looking out there to find solutions and to find acceptance and to find security and to find a home space, a shelter, when it's in here all along. Now, I know narcissists and people who prey upon other people, they're hurting too. Just like in this movie, this woman, we don't know very much about her. All that we know is that her parents divorced and her parents fought a lot. That's basically all we know about her childhood or her upbringing. There's not much said. And narcissists are private like that. They like to tell us, oh, I had a really good childhood. I was really, my mom and I didn't get along when I was young, but as I grew up, yeah, we're tight now. We're close. I witnessed something, and I have to be careful what I say, but I witnessed something in front of the narcissist as I stood in front of him and somebody else in order that the argument would not escalate. That was a red flag right there. And yet, just went over my head. I didn't see it for what it was. I really didn't. Because that inner child in me was still so scared of saying no. And what would happen if I said no? He wouldn't want to be with me anymore. Oh my gosh, my life would be turned upside down. Oh my gosh. Well, someone said there's worse things than being alone, and that is true. We don't get to warn people. We don't get to warn those who come in after us, who befriend the narcissist that we know, and they don't know that side to them yet. We don't get to warn and say, hey, this is what I know, this is what I've been through. We have to just silently walk away and let that woman or man deal with the narcissist and hope and pray that they get away clean. Who writes 41,000 emails to someone? Let me just check. Let me just check. This is an old phone. Okay, this is an iPhone 4. So I use it to take videos. I was using it for a while when my other phone broke. But this phone is the phone where I had all those emails from the stalker that I endured on here. And I'm not seeing them on here. So I guess I took them off, but I just got to the point, like there was so many, there was over 100 emails that I just got to the point, like I was just delete. And I just got tired. I got tired of going through it. I got tired of being reminded. I got tired of seeing this person in my inbox all the time. And yeah, no, it's not on here anymore. Or maybe sent. Yeah. Okay, 2017. Let's be real. I sent this to him because he went on social media to give me a public apology. And I said, public apology meant, and meant was in quotes, for me is not the same as a personal apology given to me, because he didn't give me an apology. And I said, I will have to live with the contempt you have for me. Maybe it was always there, but you tried to hide it. I am not certain, and it's a moot point. My feelings are extremely raw, as you have asked me to forgive you publicly, and then the next day you go for my jugular. 1 minute you say you stand in awe of me, and I am valued and worthy, and then you treat me like refuse on your shoe. My heart deserves love and to be loved, and from where I stand, none of this is loving. And I go on and on and on, trying to reason with the narcissist. So naive. So naive. You know, I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the book that you should get your hands on is In the Grip of Fear, because the detective turned author shares that you should never, ever, 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 ever give somebody who has betrayed you, who has shown you who they truly are. You don't give them an in. You don't give them a chance. You don't give them a second time to do you dirty. And here, as I scroll through the long text that I responded with him, I say I want nothing but the best for you. And in time, maybe we can be friends. I said that. I will not forget the peace you and I shared. Thank you, because in those moments you made me feel like I was really special. Oh. Wow. And I remember this person, I blocked him on email, and he came back with a pseudonym. I think there was 3 pseudonyms. And then 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, is pre-COVID. I kind of endured the same thing, where I met somebody and I broke up with him, and I said no, and he wasn't taking no for an answer, twisting my words. And again, I was giving him text messages to explain myself. And I'd block his number, and he'd contact me through a private number. 5 different phone numbers. And like Richard Gadd on this film, he tried to play her game, try to get her twisted up and mixed up so that he could go to the authorities with evidence. You know, when you start manipulating the narcissist as they manipulate you, it's not going to be pretty. It's not. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous game. Go no contact and stay no contact. I'm not happy that we go back to the narcissist. But it's a hidden, it's a pull. It's it's like a magnet. And until your inner child is healed, you're going to go back to the narcissist for as long as it takes. Yeah. Ooh, thank you for that. PL says, have you heard of BPD favorite person? That's borderline personality favorite person. This is sometimes the reason, but some use friendship as a Trojan horse to get into your life, and then their games begin. Yeah, Michael, well, if I'm getting annoying, I think I know who you are. Hello, goodbye. Thank you for sharing that, PL. Yeah, borderline personality disorder is a wicked and twisted something that is extremely dangerous, and I would have to say it rubs shoulders with Machiavellianism and psychopathy. So this story from Richard Gadd gets twisted now because internet sleuths have allegedly found the real stalker. And she went on a British interview with, what's his name? Just let me get out of here. Just let me find it for just a second. Just bear with me here for a second. What's his name? I want to say Nigel, but it's not Nigel. Anyways, you can Google it. Interview the real Martha on baby reindeer. Just Google that. And I watched this interview, and the interviewer, he's interviewed Jordan Peterson before. He's British. You guys know him. I just can't remember his name at the moment. Pierce. That's it. Pierce. Just one second. I'm just Googling because, okay. Pierce Morgan. Okay. Can you guys, oh, can't see that very well. Sorry. Light shining in the way. But the top story here says, Real Martha admits baby reindeer nickname is a fact by Pierce Morgan interview. That was 2 days ago. Now, when you watch this interview, what you know about narcissism, you will see red flags all over the place. Oh yeah, you'll see red flags all over the place. And she contradicts herself, and that's the thing. Like, I remember arguing. I had textual proof. I had proof that I was in the right and the guy was in the wrong. And he was arguing with me 7 ways to Sunday that I was wrong, I was wrong, I was wrong. I had proof. You cannot argue with the narcissist. They will gaslight you. They will give you the Darvo method in the gaslight. That's deflect. They will become offended. They will verbalize and become verbally abusive. They will turn around and become the victim when they make you the victim and you try to, hey, I've got proof. You said this. Right here, I've got proof. And then, I didn't say that. It's right here. I didn't say that. What did you say? Did somebody else text you? So you get into this dialogue with them that is circular, that's going nowhere, and they turn around that dialogue and make themselves the victim. I can't believe you would turn around and use this text against me. I can't believe you would save it. Well, I can't. And then it's like, well, you said it. And then they turn around and say, well, I wouldn't have said that if you didn't do that. It's like they blame you and make themselves the victim. That's part of the Darvo method. And then they spin the detail, and somehow you are in the wrong. Because somehow, by you bringing up the truth, makes them the victim. You're the bad one. You're the abusive person. And in this interview that went sideways, like, okay, to be fair, I didn't like his method of interviewing. It's like he set her up. He already knew, or he felt like he knew the truth. And so he's trying to catch her in lies. And you could see the more he pushed, the more upset she was getting, and she was trying to control. Like, she was doing well to keep her composure, but she was getting frustrated, and the things that she did say are speculative as they're contradictory. And narcissists, they do character assassinate, and she did. She said some nasty things about Richard. It was just an interesting interview. If, she claims that she's the real Martha, but yet she's not the one who stalked him. So this video right at the beginning says this is not, like, it doesn't say based on a true story. It says this is a true story. So somebody's not telling the truth here. And victims are always accused of lying. Why is that? Why is it always the victims accused of lying and being the problematic person? And yes, this woman didn't just stalk Richard. She was stalking other people as well. And in the movie, she was accused of stalking a police officer. If that is true, I don't know. But the movie suggests that she not only stalked another female, but she stalked a police officer. So there's stalking, and then there's stalking, it has been my experience, not just personal experience, but when coaching and helping other people by giving them peer support and mentorship, it's been my experience and other people's experiences that narcissists, there's varying degrees of stalking. There's the covert and the overt narcissist, the Machiavelli, the dark triad. The dark triad narcissists, they seem to have the very extreme stalking. But then you have what we would consider benign stalking, but I'm sorry, stalking is stalking. Unwanted behavior is unwanted behavior. You do not ask the narcissist to show up at your door or leave presents on your windshield of your car. You don't ask for little notes. You don't ask for 41,000 emails. You don't ask for 350 hours of voicemail on your phone. You don't ask the narcissist to send you 744 tweets when you're supposed to be no contact. This is abuse. This is an abuse of privacy. It's disrespect, and it is stalking. And a narcissist who comes back into the scene after a couple of years and tries to hit you up on video or in tweets or some sort of social media to bring back old times, to, narcissists don't forget. Some narcissists will come back 20 years later, hoover you, just so that they can hurt you. Stalking is stalking, and it doesn't matter if it's severe or seemingly benign. All of it is problematic. All of it. The narcissist is not invited, and so they have to force themselves. Okay, do you mind if I read this? Okay, PL says, one started turning up at my home randomly and bringing people with them as a means of trying to make me let her in, but I just declined. Obsessive love disorder. Erotomania, limerence, unwanted pursuit. Exactly. You follow Sam Vaknin, right? Yeah. He's got some wonderful things to say. And it's difficult. It is difficult trying to get out ahead of somebody who has caused you to fear being in your own home or traveling by yourself or enjoying your favorite restaurant because you're scared that they're going to be there. So your whole life gets turned upside down if you let it. And it takes a while. And I think that's like, it takes a while to find healing. And I think narcissists, this is just a personal observation. I'm not going to say that this is right or not. It's just a personal opinion and based on my own personal observation, that narcissists like to have the last say. And if they can make that last say bombastic or leave you with the impression that you'll never forget, that's exactly what they want. They want us to fear. Yes, PL, the narcissist is not invited, so they have to force themselves. That is so true. Yes, mine was trying to marry me for over 20 years. Oh my goodness. See, and in this movie, this is exactly what this woman did, because Richard Gadd said something inappropriate. He knew he shouldn't have said it, but he said it anyways because he was with friends, and he says he felt peer pressured. And he was joking, and it was a joke, and so he assumed that Martha would have thought that it was a joke too, but no, she took it as, we are now a couple. She took it as, oh, you have feelings for me and you desire me. Okay, so then the email started. Then the voicemail started. Then she started following him, and then she started, talking like they were a couple, and basically, when are we going to get together and have this, make this official? And narcissists live in their own little bubble in their world, like in their head. They believe what they want to believe. They see what they want to see. And they don't take no for an answer, even if it is from the police officer. They'll lay low for a little while until the so-called dust has settled, and then they'll move on in just in subtle ways, just in ways that you're just like, okay, well, never noticed that there before. It must have been there, that, whatever must have been there all the time, that chair or whatever. Maybe that chair was moved on your yard, and I never noticed that chair to be there before. And just subtle things like that to let you know that the narcissist was skulking around, but you can't be sure. You don't know. You weren't paying attention of items moved in your yard or in your home, or so it's like and because you don't take notice over time, the narcissist has to be a little less subtle. And then all of a sudden, you find yourself back in the swing of things again with them, and they're stalking you full blown. And narcissists, many of them, will not honor a cease and desist or a restraining order. Sometimes you got to relocate. And when you relocate, you get if you own a vehicle, you take your vehicle to the garage and you have them look for those little magnetic sticky trackers. Oh yeah, narcissists will put a tracker on your car. Don't think it doesn't happen. It does. And it's not because you're special. A stalker does not stalk you because you're special to them. It's because you are a potential source of fuel and supply. You're the one person who has come along in a long time that has given them attention, that has given them love, that has shown them kindness, that has shown them genuine attention and affection and nurturing from your heart. See, the narcissist cannot be alone in their own mind for too long. That's why they have to jump from person to person, and that's why they latch onto you, and that's why they stalk you, because if you've given them attention one time, they know that eventually if they keep at it, they'll get attention from you again. And they like the thrill of the chase because that's part of the control that they get. Oh yeah, they're all about control. And that's why it's important for you to get your feelings in check and allow yourself to ask the questions. Why? Why am I entertaining this narcissist? Why am I entertaining this toxic person? Why am I allowing this person in my life? Why am I allowing them why am I allowing them jurisdiction in my mind? Why am I giving them real estate in my mind? Why? Why am I paying attention to them? Why am I ruminating about them? Why am I thinking about them? What is it in me? And it's got nothing to do with them. It's more about you and something that has yet to be healed. They're just bringing it up and you can't see it from them because it's not them that has initiated the trauma. They're just keeping the trauma within you going. And if you ignore the past trauma and the past hurts and the past pain, you're going to keep attracting narcissist after narcissist, and you're going to keep allowing them into your life until you have that aha moment and say, ooh. So this is a Christian channel, and this movie, okay, let's get into it. It's not Christian, obviously. But the reason why I'm bringing it up, obviously, is because of trauma. Now, Richard, because of his, not just because of his sexual abuse by a man, that caused him to question his sexuality. And in this movie, he forms a sexual relationship with a transgender, to which Martha finds out and exploits and calls to attention and is very wicked and evil in her approach, as she's jealous and she's vindictive and evil and malicious and mean and maligning, and all because the narcissist fears losing their fuel source. They fear that loss of control. And the reason why I bring this up is because, for me, there has been sexual abuse from narcissists that haven't been conventional. And I've said no. And I downplayed it. I've never questioned who I am because I'm a Christian. I know who I belong to. However, I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking that for me, from my abuse that I've endured, I have pushed it under the rug when I've had intimate relations with men, and I've tried to not allow myself to believe that sex is icky. But after watching this show, I found myself in tears, mourning and crying, because the people that many of us are traumatized by, the narcissist, they're not in this for love. They're in it for sex. They are in it for the feel good, the physical aspect of it. And I allowed myself to feel, as I allowed myself to just really sit with this and just get real and honest. And I'm inviting you, if you guys are traumatized by a narcissist and you have endured some sort of emotional, physical abuse, sit in the mirror with yourself and just look at your eyes, look in your eyes, yeah, just look, and just look into your soul. And know who you are. The abuse has not made you who you are. The abuse does not define you. You can rise up from it. PL says the narcissist is not invited. Okay, I said that already, I think. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, so they're not invited, so they have to force themselves. Yes, that is so true. Okay, I did read that already. Sorry about that. This is just such a heavy topic, and I'm a little bit unprepared because I had something that I wanted to say this afternoon to you guys, and it's just kind of, and that's okay. That's okay. Whatever, I encourage you guys to just have a piece of paper, have a pen with you, like a notepad. If you're going for a walk, if you're in a restaurant, have that notepad with you and just scribble down some notes that just come to your mind if you're reflecting on your trauma. Excuse me. Because, in watching this show, again, I mentioned that I forced myself to. And with what's going on in the entertainment industry lately, I forced myself to research and delve a little bit deeper into than just the superficial he said, she said, or he said gossip. And it's the same as this movie, Baby Reindeer. Sexual abuse is sexual abuse. And it's time we stop dumbing it down. It's time that we stop ignoring the fact that this happens. Little children, teenagers, are being victimized and groomed to become victimizers. Now, because of my abuse and the trauma that I went through as a kid, and not having parents in my life, I wasn't necessarily a helicopter mom, but I took my motherhood seriously. Like, nobody's going to babysit my kids until they are old enough to talk, until they are old enough to understand that they know what good and bad touching is, and they can say no. And I have always told the kids when they were young, if you're in danger, I've showed them what a police officer looks like. You go to a police officer, or you knock on somebody's door. And back in when they were little, we still had these little cards that people would put in their window for after school care. If kids were in danger, all they had to do was look for a certain red and white card in the window, and they knew that that was a safe home that they could go to, and that's where their parents could pick them up at. It was a community helping communities to help each other stay safe. And now it's like you don't see that anymore. We're on our own more than what we think, and because we're on our own, we assume that everybody is like us. We're still naive, and I'm not ashamed to say that. The more you go through the abuse of a narcissist, however many that may be, the more times you endure that abuse, the more educated you become, the more wiser you become, the more discerning you become, the stronger you become, and the less weak in your no you become. And finally, you just throw it all down and you say, F it. Enough is enough. I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. I would rather be alone. I would rather isolate myself and spend time with myself than to endure another freaking toxic relationship again and hear the narcissist yelling at me, berating me, and calling me out on something for just being me. Because you're not allowed to be yourself in front of a narcissist, in public or behind closed doors. I've had some narcissists say this: I own you. Some people believe that because you're now married that they own you, or because you're in a relationship that they own you. No. And the reason why that's problematic for many of us who have been traumatized, and we dismiss it. Yeah, I've dismissed it. I convinced myself, he didn't really mean that. No. Yeah, he meant it. But we convince ourselves that, no, I didn't really hear that. Because we don't yet know ourselves. We can't yet control ourselves. If we don't know ourselves, how can we control ourselves? So we kind of hand our empathy to the narcissist on a silver platter. When we get into a relationship with them, it's like we hand our hearts to them and say, here, you be responsible of my heart. Because superficially, they show us that they're somewhat responsible, but no, it's just a facade. A narcissist knows how to smile, knows how to be nice. They know how to say the right things to make you think, oh yeah, you really do care about me. They know how to fake empathy. But the minute you really want to get down and serious, they don't mind you being vulnerable because they'll prey upon your vulnerability, but they will never get vulnerable with you because they know how they act with you. So they're not going to let anybody act that way with them. And because they don't trust and because they can't know you, they don't understand that you're using your empathy to help them become vulnerable so that you can show them who you truly are, so that they can see who you truly are. Because that's what makes a wonderful relationship, a loving mutual relationship, is when two people can become vulnerable together and feel safe with each other in that vulnerability. When you got a stalker, there's no safety. They're the wolf who wants to blow your house down. Hello, Jordan. Nice to see you. Thank you for showing up. You know, they try to coerce you and force you into a relationship, an interaction with them. They give you false promises. I promise I won't do that ever again. I promise I won't be that way. I promise I'll change. And you say, okay. And you notice they don't change and you call them out on their bullshit, and then you're the one who's the biatch. You're the fun sucker. You're the one who has the thumb down on them. But they're the one that promised. Yeah, we speak the truth here. And sometimes the truth means that I have to get truthful and real with myself in front of you guys to see what I don't want to see, or to see what we all don't want to see. That we're all just doing the best that we can. And you know what? All of us are vulnerable at some point. You can have the most confident person in the world, and there will be some sort of thing in their lives that make them vulnerable. So please don't think that being vulnerable and naive is a dirty word, because it's not. It's a part of our human nature. And those of us who have been traumatized at whatever age, I was thinking about this today, that, you know, when you begin to, like, okay, I was thinking about, okay, this show, Baby Reindeer, because Richard Gadd, he was molested, he was assaulted. I have to be careful with my words. He was raped by a grown man when he was a grown man. And so before this horrendous assault and abuse happened, he was happy-go-lucky. He was smiling. He was upbeat. He was, thank you, Jordan. That's very nice. He was, you know, you look at him and he had that spark in his eye. You know how we all have that inner child, that creativity. This guy was setting his life up to be a comedian. He wanted to go on stage and do the world tour with his comedic act. He was on fire. He believed in himself. And then this traumatic sexual assault happened. And then his fire died. And I thought to myself, and just, you know, I was really trying to observe and watch this movie from my perspective of being traumatized and what it means and how far I really have to go. Like, I really wasn't watching this from, oh, well, I'm fixed already, I don't need to watch this. No, it was, okay, I want to know his story, but I was also watching this from, oh my gosh, I resonate with what he's saying and what he did and what happened. I resonate. And I admire him standing up for himself here. Why? I was asking him questions through the TV, but I was reflecting on myself. And I noticed that when we are traumatized, it's the little child inside of us that is hurt. It's not the adult. It's the creativity, the blind faith that we carry in this world to say, look at world, here I am. You know, and we're not bothered by what people think, but all of a sudden trouble happens, and now we retreat into our shells, and we're just like, no, I don't want to talk to anybody. Because our little child is the one that bears the assault. Because the assault actually hits directly at our creative side and takes away our blind faith and our blind hope to just be and do and accept things as they are and just, you know, be Superman or Wonder Woman if we want. No, trauma is like, you won't be needing that. You don't need that in this world. I'm here as trauma to toughen you up and get you to smarten up and grow up right now and bypass the childhood creativity that you need in you as an adult to even survive. See, narcissists, they don't have that creativity in them. They have they cannot stand to be alone. Like, if I don't, maybe this is a personal observation of mine, that I know many narcissists who have to have the TV on in the background, who have to have music on in the background, who have to have some sort of noise in the background, because the silence to them is deafening. The silence causes them to, they can't be with themselves. They can't get to know, their inner child. They refuse. They have no empathy for who they are. And so watching this movie, Baby Reindeer, was an eye-opener for me. And it helped me to reflect on things that I need areas to work on, yeah. But it helped me to come to terms and to be authentic with the abuse, all of it. To just sit with it and be honest with myself. Yeah. When I was 27, I allowed some abuse to happen to me. Whether I was a Christian or not, I wasn't, but it doesn't matter. As an adult, I allowed myself to enter into a situation that set me up for abuse. And the person that I was with walked through that open door willingly. And even pre-COVID, I walked myself into a situation that I had no business being in, but I thought I could control it. Since I'm an adult now, we're both consenting adults, everything will be fine. No, I put myself in a situation. I said no. I didn't even tell my best friend what happened. And she knew something was wrong, and I didn't tell her, and it put a wedge in between us. And I didn't tell her because I didn't want to be judged by her. because I'm a grown-ass adult trying to work on healing myself of narcissism, and I walked right into another narcissistic relationship and got myself into trouble. So this movie definitely gets you looking at yourself if you allow it. And I'm not blaming myself. Like I'm not here to force shame upon myself. That's not why I watched it. I want to heal. And I know there's roadblocks in me that I haven't thought about certain abuses that I went through. Some of them I just like rise above them and just move on, yeah. But then there's others abuses that I went through that I just like pushed under the rug. And this movie called me out on my shit, on my ignorance. Ignorance is not bliss. And this movie called me out on areas where I forgot about because I blindly allowed myself to forget. And that willful forgetness, that's a word, forgetness. I like it, Shannonism. That willful forgetting has caused other problems in my life. It has caused me some roadblocks. You know, in healing, it's got to be uncomfortable. I'm putting together a course. I don't know if, I don't like I don't like calling things courses, but like, I don't know, a mastermind program. And I was thinking about it today of just having a weighted backpack. That's what it feels like when you have a backpack on your shoulders. That's what your trauma feels like. Your trauma feels very heavy on your shoulders. And I was thinking of just a weighted backpack. And if I had you guys, put sizable rocks, like maybe, okay, 20, 30 pounds, carry 20, 30 pounds on your back, 5 rocks, and you attach a message to those rocks pertaining to your trauma, and you walk a little ways with this bag of heavy rocks on your back. And you walk until it's just kind of not yet unbearable, but it's uncomfortable. And I was walking with someone today thinking about this, and the person that I was walking with asked me, well, what if the person starts resenting the bag? That's what we do. When we don't heal, we learn to resent our trauma. And this person said to me, well, what if your clients just start resenting the bag and they take off the bag and they refuse to move? Like they just don't want to do the lesson anymore. They don't want to do the program. And I said, well, that's kind of why we would be here in the first place, because when you act like that in real life, you're stuck. You hit a brick wall. You're stuck. It's like no longer is your back, your load on your back and on your shoulders. You take it off, but it's still attached to you. It's attached like the ball and chain on your ankle. And you're dragging it along with you as you try and go to your job, and you try to make friends, and you try to, do whatever it is that you enjoy doing, and you can't because there's this freaking thing attached to your foot. And it just won't let go. So, for me, I want all this frickin' trauma. I know it's never going to go away. I can deal with the memories. But I am so frickin' sick and tired of it controlling my life that I am ready to control myself instead of trying to control myself through narcissists by saying what Richard Gadd did. When the woman approached him and came to his bar and asked, well, she didn't ask for anything. She was sitting there crying. And I personally will go on a limb and say that was a ploy. Because it's so cliche, but it's true. Bartenders are lay counselors. They hear and witness people's bullshit antics every single day. And so Mary, or Martha, excuse me, comes in. She's crying. She made it seem like she had a bad day. And Richard said, "Can I get you a tea?" Kindly. Because bartenders are sympathetic. She's like, "I've got no money." He's like, "That's okay, it's on me." And that just flipped a switch. You know that narcissists cry crocodile tears, and when you see them cry and you say something that they're looking to hear, they'll just stop crying on a dime. It's a natural talent of theirs. So I encourage you guys, if you are going to see this movie called Baby Reindeer, episode 4 all the way through is about the sexual assault that Richard endured from the first to the last time. And I myself, I watched very little bit of the first time, and I ended up scrolling the video through the rest of it. But I'm here today because it resonated with me. I endured something similar where I trusted somebody with my body and he violated it. And he wasn't the only one, but that particular incident was where clearly said, no, that's a line I will not cross. I'm not into sodomy. And yeah, and it messed me up for a long time. Because at that time when it happened, I wasn't a Christian, but I still believed in God, and I knew it was wrong, and it's just not something I wanted for myself. And it's not something that we talked about. It's not something that he ever said that he wanted to try or do. We were just involved in some other situation, and he just took the opportunity, and I said no. And I haven't thought about that for years, but I told my ex-husband about what happened, as I was honest with him. And him being a Christian, and when we met and got married, we were, doing our best to follow God, and narcissists always throw back your secrets in your face. That's all I'll say about that. So, to reiterate that, I personally think, now this is my opinion, I personally think that the reason why we go back to abusers, or we allow them entry into our lives and we don't cut them off and say no, when we go no contact, we tell ourselves, like Richard Gadd, he says, well, I felt sorry for her. And he said that a few times. And I know I found myself saying, oh, yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad that they have nobody. I feel bad he's alone. It's like we minimize the abuse because to us, being alone is worse because we've endured. When we were traumatized, we were alone in that trauma. And so we don't want anybody else to go through that. So we gaslight ourselves and convince ourselves, well, we know what it's like to be alone. We know what it's like to, be abandoned. So we can't abandon them. So we minimize and we make abandonment more. We make abandonment more horrendous than the abuse, the physical and verbal abuse itself. How does that compute? It only computes because we are naive. It only computes because our inner child has not yet grown up. And we sacrifice our feelings, we sacrifice our safety in the name of the greater good. Because we convince ourselves we're doing the right thing, we're doing right by them. But we don't know what the right thing is because no one did right by us, not even the narcissist. And we think, oh, we'll teach them. Because if they just see that we're good and kind people, if we just endure this enough, it's like we become martyrs. If we just endure this enough, then maybe they'll see the light and they'll have the switch and they'll stop being so mean to us, and then we can forgive them because they're going to stop eventually. We convince ourselves they're going to stop. We convince ourselves that once they see that we really love them or we care about them, that eventually that will cause them to see that they really do love us and they'll stop. That's a gaslight. I'm convinced that's a gaslight. It's a self-manipulation tactic to avoid the truth. And the truth is that we use the narcissist just as the narcissist uses us, but we use the narcissist in a way that allows us to somehow find our voice and try to maintain some sort of control. Because in us going back to the narcissist, in us saying, oh, I don't want them to feel alone, I feel for them, they're alone, they're afraid, that in itself is trying to control our past of how we used to feel afraid and abandoned in the initial trauma. By us reaching out to them and extending ourselves to them, we're trying to control them by controlling us as we try to control. I don't know if I'm articulating this right. I understand it, but I don't know if I can articulate it right. Because it's not just the past that we're trying to control. We're trying to control the inner child who is controlling us in the now with the narcissist. and we're trying to, it's all about control. We're trying to control by minimizing. That's it. We're trying to control by minimizing the negative effect that the narcissist has on us. And we convince ourselves that it's not so negative if we stay. We stay because we give the reason, because their pain is worse than ours, because we can take it. But that is a gaslight, because we're ignoring our problem because we were ignored when the initial pain happened. And we know that the narcissist is ignoring us. So if we just give them our attention and let them see that we aren't ignoring them, maybe then they'll stop. But they don't. They never will. The law did not stop this woman in this film. And this isn't just a film here. This, right at the beginning, it says a true story. This is a true story. It doesn't say based on a true story. So if you guys have comments, questions, or suggestions, you are welcome to email me. You are welcome to leave a comment if you want to talk privately, as you don't want your comment or question public in the comment section. Email me and I will answer you. I'm here for you. But I felt I wanted to address this tonight because of what is going on in the public eye, in the entertainment industry. But also, this brought up some hard-hitting questions for me, as I questioned a few times, why? Why? Why did I allow that? And I'm not asking, from a perception of shame. I genuinely want to know. I genuinely want to know the truth so that I can understand myself, to nurture myself. It's not about judging. It's not about judging at all. I'm not here to judge. We're all here to heal. We're here for each other. So I hope this video has made sense to you. Narcissists are dangerous, no matter how benign they seem. You cannot tell a narcissist that you think that they are a narcissist. And I'm convinced now that with all this information about narcissism, as we share our stories, the narcissists watch and they learn. And they try to learn to stay one step ahead. But they cannot. They cannot feel empathy. And that will always be their downfall. Because when you have empathy for someone else, that dissolves the need for control. Ooh. Doesn't that make sense? So what does that say when you apply empathy to yourself, where you don't judge? You don't sit there and berate yourself and say, I was a fool. I went back to this narcissist 5 times. Oh my gosh, I allowed that to happen. I didn't say no when I should. I said yes when I wanted to say no. What the hell is wrong with me? Stop doing that to yourself. Allow yourself to nurture your inner child with empathy. And be honest, be upfront. Don't sugarcoat and say, tell yourself, yeah, okay, this happened. This happened. I was harmed. I was hurt. And yes, I did. I will take responsibility and say, I put myself in harm's way because I was playing with the devil in his playground, thinking that I had everything under control. Because, yeah, I felt good being in his arms. I felt wonderful, engaging with him and talking with him and snuggling and canoodling. I felt good doing that. I felt special. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you know the person is potentially dangerous because you ignore the red flags and then you get yourself into trouble, like me, yeah, I got to take responsibility for that. And I did. I paid the price. How did I pay the price? It freaking hurt me emotionally. It dulled my spirit's fire. It took me away from God. And I had to climb back that mountain to reach that apex of where I was before the trauma happened. I had to work at getting rid of my fear because I put myself in a situation that caused trauma, and trauma causes fear, and fear is what separates you from God. So I had to freaking relearn and rediscover what fear was in me that was keeping me from God. And the sexual abuse, this is just coming to me. The sexual abuse, all of it that I endured, the fear of that, the fear that came out of that was shame. And shame keeps you away from God. Because God loves you no matter what. God loves you no matter what. I'm going to say that again. Say it with me. God loves me no matter what. Go look at yourself in the mirror. Tell yourself that tonight. Tell yourself that in the morning when you get up and brush your teeth and have a shower. Tell yourself that every single time you look in the mirror. God loves me no matter what. Because it's about getting rid of the shame. I think I'm understanding this a little bit better now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share this with you, because I definitely just feel like I had a growth spurt. I definitely feel like I have challenged my shame, have challenged the fear and the whys. Why I did that and why that happened. And I definitely feel like I've been lovingly challenged. I lovingly challenged myself today. And, it's not about, sometimes when we think healing looks like pointing the finger, yes, but we think pointing the finger to the point of saying, you did this, you're bad, you're this, you're shameful, you're awful, no, pointing the finger at yourself is just tapping yourself on the shoulder right here. Just pointing the finger at yourself and going, hey me, I love you. Hey me, what you doing? Hey me, why are you feeling so sad? Go look at yourself in the mirror and say, God loves you no matter what. And then you say these words, and so do I. Meaning you love yourself no matter what. I love you from a sisterly point of view. But you love yourself because you've got God in you. And God loves you. He knew you before you were born. There's no shame. There's no shame. The only thing that has come out of your trauma that you take with you is knowledge, discernment, wisdom. You take that and you go and you help other people. Not to say don't do what I did, but you share the knowledge and the wisdom that you gained out of the trauma that you endured. Because for me, just like watching this movie, Baby Reindeer, Richard helped me as he's helped millions of people by writing the script, enduring this trauma. And that's what it's about. He has no idea the contribution to society, to the world that he has made in such a loving way. We endure trauma for ourselves to learn, but we also endure trauma for others too to learn. And it may not make sense to you, but it will. You may be sitting there asking yourself, God, why me? Why? We all have our crosses to bear. But it's about not letting the devil break you. The devil will shake you, and he'll shake your spirit and cause you to question your worth, and he'll cause you to question why you're here on this earth. But he can't break you. You're not broken. You're not damaged. Okay, so you're a little bit battered and bruised. We all are, but bruises heal. Feelings heal. And when you heal, I promise you what will be left is, yes, but a memory. But those feelings, you'll be able to talk about the abuse. You'll be able to share. And you'll be able to stand proud in front of the person that you're sharing with. And you will empower them so that they can power through their trauma and stand strong. Because you will be that example to help them through it. Guaranteed it. I guarantee it. So, I think I've talked long enough. I feel better. I hope you guys do too. So thank you everyone for joining. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to this channel as you help the algorithm get this video and this channel out to those who need to hear it. Yes, they need to hear me long-winded, don't they? Yeah. You guys suffered through, so they have to suffer through too. So please share this video. Ha. Anyways, you can also visit me on my Ko-Fi channel. I will have a link in the pinned comments. My Ko-Fi channel is basically my personal electronic library that I have written. Yes, I'm an author and I write Christian books, Bible stories, personal stories of what I've went through, what I've been through, as I also write e-courses and little booklets to help you, such as Talk the Talk, talking your way into healthy relationships. This is a little booklet on how you can be assertive with the narcissist by holding yourself, by saying no is no. And if the narcissist does not respect your no, as they won't, then you stipulate a consequence and you follow through that consequence. Whether that makes you feel bad or not, your word is your word, as God says. Let your yes be yes, your no be no. Any excuse outside of this is of the enemy. So you have to hold yourself to your word, because your word is your bond, because your word is your reputation in life. It's about staying authentic, being true to yourself, and true to the Word of God. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope this video has been of value to you. And if you do watch the movie Baby Reindeer, comment your thoughts and your questions below, as this is something that we need to have deep dive discussions about. So if you're willing, let's do this. Have a good night. Happy Sunday night. Have a good day tomorrow. Join me. I think I'll have a live tomorrow too. Yeah, I think so. Join me here tomorrow night. Bye-bye.